A $29 million mansion that nobody wants to buy for 12 years straight, and that's just the beginning of this crazy story. Right now there are celebrity homes worth hundreds of millions sitting empty because no one will buy them. These aren't just any houses. These are dream homes that turned into nightmares. Mansions so big they have their own zip codes. Properties so weird that even billionaires run away. Today I'm showing you the most shocking celebrity home disasters that will make you question everything you think you know about luxury living. And trust me, the last story will blow your mind because it just happened last month. Let me start with something that sounds like a horror movie but is completely real. Nicolas Cage bought a house in New Orleans that was owned by one of America's most evil people. This wasn't just any old house. This was the home of Madame Lalaurie, a woman who tortured slaves in the 1800s in ways so terrible that even back then people were shocked. When firefighters found her victims chained in the attic, the whole city wanted to burn the place down. But Cage thought this was cool. He paid big money for this cursed house in 2007. He loved spooky stuff and thought owning America's most haunted house would be awesome. Big mistake. Almost immediately after buying it, his life fell apart. His other properties started losing money. His spending got out of control. His career hit rocky times. By 2009, just 2 years later, the bank took the house away from him. He couldn't make the payments anymore. Here's the crazy part. Nobody wanted to buy this house after that. Real estate agents said weird things happened during showings. Lights would flicker, doors would slam shut. People felt sick just walking through it. Even in New Orleans, a city famous for ghost tours, this house was too creepy for most buyers. The combination of its horrible history and being a celebrity's foreclosed home made it nearly impossible to sell. Now let me tell you about Mike Tyson's mansion disaster. Picture this. A house so big it's 50,000 square feet with 18 bedrooms. That's bigger than most hotels. Tyson built this place when he was the heavyweight champion of the world and money was flowing like water. This house had everything: multiple pools, a nightclub in the basement, a full basketball court, and rooms most people couldn't even imagine needing. But here's what nobody talks about. Running this place cost a fortune every single month. The electric bill alone was thousands of dollars. The staff needed to clean and maintain it was like running a small business. When Tyson's boxing career started declining and his money problems began, this dream house became his worst nightmare. Every month the house was eating up money he didn't have. The real tragedy happened when he tried to sell it. Who else needs a nightclub in their basement? Who else wants 18 bedrooms to clean and heat? The house was built exactly for Tyson's crazy lifestyle. And that made it impossible for normal rich people to want. Real estate agents couldn't find buyers. The price kept dropping. Each price cut was like a punch to Tyson's heart, reminding him how far he'd fallen from his glory days. But wait until you hear about Whitney Houston's house, because this story will break your heart. Whitney had a beautiful mansion in New Jersey that was supposed to be her safe place away from fame. She built a recording studio inside where she made some of her biggest hits. For 15 years this house was her home, her sanctuary, her creative space. As Whitney's personal problems got worse, the house started falling apart too. Staff members who worked there during her final years said it was heartbreaking to watch. Whitney would walk through the empty halls of her huge house, completely alone. The recording studio where she once created magic became silent. Paint started peeling. The grounds that were once perfect became messy and overgrown. When Whitney died in 2012, her house became more than just a property for sale. It became a reminder of one of America's greatest voices and her tragic end. Buyers weren't just looking at an old house that needed work. They were looking at a place filled with sadness and loss. The house sat on the market for years. It started at $2.5 million and eventually sold for just $1.5 million. But the real loss wasn't money. It was what the house represented. Now here's a story that shows how a celebrity's reputation can completely destroy a property's value. Kelly had an incredible mansion in Illinois, 18,500 square feet with 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, an indoor pool, and even a private lake. In the 1990s, when Kelly was on top of the music world, this house was where he lived like a king. But as Kelly's legal troubles started piling up, something amazing happened to his house. It became toxic. When he was forced to sell in 2013, potential buyers would literally turn around and walk away when they found out it was his house. Real estate agents said it was impossible to show the property because people didn't want to be associated with Kelly's problems. The house that was once worth $5 million became almost worthless overnight. Not because anything was wrong with the building, but because of who owned it. It took 6 years to find someone willing to buy it, and they only paid $1.7 million. That's less than half the original price. This proves that sometimes a celebrity's reputation is more important than the actual property. But the most shocking story of all is Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. This wasn't just a house, it was a 2,700-acre theme park. Jackson built his own private amusement park with real rides, a zoo with exotic animals, and a movie theater. He spent millions creating his own magical world where he could feel like a kid again. Running Neverland cost over $5 million every year. The zoo needed special animal caretakers and veterinarians. The amusement park rides needed constant maintenance and safety checks. The property needed an army of workers just to keep it running. When Jackson's money problems started, these costs became impossible to handle. After Jackson's legal troubles in 2005, he barely ever went back to Neverland. The place that was supposed to be his escape from the world became a reminder of his problems. The animals were moved away. The rides stopped working. The magic was gone. When Jackson died in 2009, Neverland became the world's most famous house for sale. The asking price was $100 million. But nobody wanted to buy it. Think about it. Who else needs their own amusement park? Who else wants to pay millions just to maintain rides and empty zoo buildings? The property was so unique and so expensive to run that even billionaires stayed away. For over 10 years, Neverland sat empty with its price dropping year after year. Finally, in 2020, a billionaire named Ron Burkle bought it for just $22 million. That's less than a quarter of the original price. Even now, nobody knows what he plans to do with it, because it's such a strange and expensive property to own. Here's the craziest part about all these stories. They're nothing compared to what just happened with Michael Jordan's house. Jordan built a 56,000 square foot mansion in Illinois that's been for sale since. This house is absolutely incredible. 9 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms, a tennis court, an indoor basketball court, a cigar room, and a wine cellar. But Jordan made one huge mistake. He put his personal brand everywhere. The gates have his famous Jumpman logo. His jersey number 23 is all over the house. There's Bulls memorabilia in every room. The basketball court is designed exactly for his training needs. Even the cigar room reflects his personal hobby. The problem is obvious. Who wants to live in Michael Jordan's house? Every day you'd be reminded that you're living in someone else's space. You can't make it your own because Jordan's personality is built into every wall. Rich people want their own style, not to live in a basketball museum. For 12 years this house sat on the market. The price started at $29 million and kept dropping. They even tried to auction it off, but nobody bid. Nobody wanted to pay millions to live in Jordan's personal shrine to himself. The monthly costs just to maintain the place were over $100,000 per year in taxes, utilities and upkeep. But here's the shocking update that just happened. In December 2024, Jordan's house finally sold. After 12 years of price cuts and embarrassment, someone bought it for just $9.5 million. That's less than 1/3 of what Jordan originally wanted. Even the greatest basketball player of all time had to take a massive loss because his house was too personal for anyone else to want. These stories teach us something important about success and money. All these celebrities reached the top of their field. They had more money than most people can imagine, but their success became a trap. They built these crazy houses that were perfect for them but terrible for everyone else. The real problem wasn't the houses themselves. The problem was that these celebrities lost touch with reality. They thought bigger was always better. They thought more expensive meant more valuable. They forgot that houses are supposed to be homes, not monuments to ego.
Every one of these mansions was supposed to solve a problem. Cage wanted to own something unique and spooky. Tyson wanted to show off his success. Whitney wanted a private place to create music. Kelly wanted to live like royalty. Jackson wanted to recapture his lost childhood. Jordan wanted a house that celebrated his achievements. But instead of solving problems, these houses created bigger problems. They were too expensive to maintain, too weird for other people to want, too big to feel like homes, too personal to have broad appeal. The celebrities who built them ended up trapped by their own success. The mansion market shows us that sometimes having everything means having nothing. These houses had every luxury you can imagine, but they couldn't provide the one thing their owners really needed: happiness and peace of mind. You can't buy happiness with marble floors and gold fixtures. You can't find peace in 50,000 square feet if you're not at peace with yourself. Think about this the next time you dream about having a huge house or living like a celebrity. These stories prove that bigger isn't always better. More expensive doesn't always mean more valuable. And sometimes the things we think will make us happy actually make us miserable. The celebrities in these stories learned the hard way that true success isn't measured by the size of your house. It's measured by the quality of your relationships, the peace in your heart, and the positive impact you have on others. A small house filled with love is worth more than a mansion filled with emptiness. Remember these stories before you let the pursuit of material things take over your life, because sometimes the biggest houses hide the smallest lives.